Welcome to the Hidden Driveway Show. I'm your host, Amu, and joining me today we have a very special guest, h3artch3rades. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hey guys, I'm h3rtch3rades. What's up?
What's up with you? What's going on?
Not much. I just saw the Spider-Man movie. It was pretty good.
I haven't been a big Spider-Man, watcher guy, but, I've heard people generally say it's, on par with, the previous movies. Would you say that's true?
They're talking about the other Tom Holland movies.
Yeah.
I would say this is probably up there with the best, probably the best he's done. I'm not crazy about comic books like that. I've never read a comic, but I know about characters. And Spider-Man's cool. Yeah, the movie was good. I really liked that it was him as, Peter Parker in New York, and you get to see him interacting with New York. I think that's really cool and makes him a really relatable character. But yeah, that was pretty much all I did so far, so I'm doing pretty good.
All right, yeah. Well, to get us started, is there anything you'd like to talk about? Is there anything on your mind right now whatsoever?
There's nothing that jumps out at me right now that I can think of. Unfortunately, I don't have anything good for this part. I thought I would have something, but no, I don't have. Everything escapes me.
I guess because I want to talk more about the album later, but I guess now that it's released, how do you feel? Because that's a pretty recent thing. That's when we're recording this.
Yeah, I've been going back and forth on it. I think the one thing that I feel is just okay, cool, it's out, because I think one of the issues that I always run into is just getting something out and getting it done and worrying about, oh, it sounds perfect. It sounds close to perfect. With this project, I was more so focused on just trying to get it done and just get it out and just get it okay, cool, that's off my shoulders. And the response has been the reception's been good. And I think that there's been some good criticisms and feedbacks that I've gotten from people. And I think it helped me know where to fine tune things moving forward. So I think that overall I feel good about the project, and I'm just ready to go to the next thing and keep going is my mindset.
Yeah, I mean, you say that, but I appreciate that you do take your time with your projects, because it's I feel with some people, when they drop too consistently, it becomes a point where it's I can't keep up, and it makes you not as invested in them. But I feel because it's for you when you drop a project, it's a big deal. I'm actively trying to keep up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's good. It really depends on, your mindset for how you want to drop projects. I think if you're going to be a mixtape artist, then be a mixtape artist and be consistent at that. If you're going to be a project space, sparse it out or space it out, then do that. But just consistency is the key. At least give them something to chew on in between. Then I think my main thing was being consistent about track releases. And I need to be better about that going forward, because I tried to at least get something out. Originally it was every 2 week, every 2 times a month, or every month at least, just to know hey, I'm still here, here's something, yeah, give it a listen. But yeah, big thing was just getting it out, getting it done, moving on to the next thing was my mindset. And I was stuck on it for a little bit of time. I wanted to drop it earlier in, because it's called the rainy season. And I wanted it to drop in the spring, but that never happened. And it probably would have not been out by now, but I got really motivated to finish it. After, of all things, I saw the movie The Backrooms. I saw that movie. That movie legit turned me up. I was I need to go harder. I need to finish my projects. I saw that movie 3 times when it was in theaters. I just had to it just sparked me in terms of creativity.
No, I get it, because there's been so much good art coming out recently, and I got to go to the Back to Zero tour in New York. I'm not even from there, but I was there when they're doing it. It was just I think just seeing how much stuff is happening right now is just so inspiring. It makes me want to make more things too.
I agree. Yeah, especially with music, but not just music, art in general that I've been seeing come out. I've mainly been getting my inspiration from multimedia projects. But there's been music too that I've been listening to that's also been keeping me focused on oh, cool, that sounds cool. I'd like to do something cool like that too.
I appreciate with your singles too how Honestly, a lot of them sound like they could be like album tracks for you, but they just happen to be like released as a standalone.
Yeah, the recent one I dropped before this tape, the one called Laundry List, that was actually going to be a tape project.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was going to be for the Charms project that we dropped. But like with Charms and my stuff at the time, like when that project was getting made, like we had various things going on at the time where we just like couldn't get that project out, and like eventually what ended up being on that project was just what we had finished, and that was originally an open, and I thought it was too good. I was like this is too good of an instrumental to not like finish out at least and drop. And I really liked the flow and the lyrics and the chorus specifically enough to where it's like I got to finish this thing.
Yeah, because I know for that project, I was talking to Soma about, like, those are all like a year or two old, right? That are on that project.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's actually older than that, I think. I think some of those might have been from 2023 to 2024. Like that, all those songs and projects were specifically completed in between the time period of 2023, 2024. That was a terrible time period for me. I hated that time period. So that's why some of those songs sounded like that specifically. But you know, life's good now, you know, that's so, but yeah, they're pretty old, those songs.
Yeah, I'm glad you're doing better now. And I kind of wanted to get into how I first found out about you presently, because I was seeing your name around a bit towards like the end of 2024. Like, I think you were on Danny Kiyoko's like Christmas thing that he did.
Oh yeah.
So like, that was the first time I saw you. But the first time that I was like, I really need to like pay attention to h3artch3rades was on Hypebeast, All the Kids Wants to Touch You Too. Because that was already my favorite song off that tape, and then your feature just like elevated it. And I was like, okay, I've never listened to your solo music at all. I need to go check this out. So I checked out the His and Her Experience, which was like your only tape out at the time. And I really loved that project. I know I was showing it to one of my friends, and he was calling it like, this is a bunch of buzzwords, but he was saying it was like Fruitiger era R&B almost, like the way he was describing it.
That's cool. I like that name. That's funny too, because Fruitiger era, like artwork and stuff like that. Low key, I had an idea to make a project with sounds just kind of like that, give off that vibe too. So I take that and I look at that like a good thing, because like I very much so go for like things that you could picture in your head as being like associated with an image, or it gives off a certain vibe and feeling like, oh, this reminds me of like, you know, those old Windows Fruitiger era like style user interfaces and stuff like that. I really like those styles and just like aesthetics.
But yeah, after hearing that project, I was okay, well, I can't wait to hear more from this guy. And then, fortunately for me, and I don't know why it worked out this way, but I saw like half the artists I interviewed like last summer, you were featured on their projects. Because you were on Heartstrings by Lexi Cat, Crazy Story by Azwunya Maya, Ridgeway Drive by Ellens, and In Elsewhere by Zayoke, which are also my favorite tapes from last year. And while your voice is definitely what initially drew me into your music, I really love your production choices as well, whether it's like self-produced or other people you work with, just because I feel like it takes a lot from like the ambient scene especially, which is really cool, just because I feel like a lot of people that like would make the kind of stuff you do, like Corey Lingo, for example, who I say it's kind of like a similar realm, like it's more like plug and be based. So I think the fact that you pick production that kind of gives your vocals more space is really cool.
Yeah. I've gotten that comparison before to like Corey Lingo. I would agree. Like, cause it's very like falsetto driven, R&B vocals, like rooted. But yeah, like all those projects, I was basically like, I think I was pretty locked in around that time for getting like things back to each other, like to people respectively. I'm pretty bad about that right now, but yeah, it was great to be a part of all those projects, like the Lexi one, the Ellens one, the Zay one, like all of those were super awesome to be a part of, and you know, at the time that, and I'm really happy that those projects did as well as they did. And you know, I guess that's all I really have to say is like, I was happy to be, you know, asked to be a part of those huge albums and projects. And yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, because literally, I think all the songs that you're on for those projects are like some of my personal favorites off of them, and I think like you are a big part of like why that is. So
Yeah, thank you. I like a lot of those projects, like specifically, people always ask me like about how do you like go about your process and things like that. And it's like with those songs that I was featured on, like I always get like this impression or vibe from them where it's like I need to sing it in this way or this style. Like the Lexi project, for instance, when she sent me that, it reminded me of like some classic like 2000s emo pop punk stuff.
mhm.
And I realized now how derivative like that flow actually was when I went to go listen to bands like Brand New and also Boys Like Girls, specifically The Great Escape. I realized I took a lot of that flow from that song, The Great Escape. Like it's literally just imprinted into that song. But I think that's what's so fun about it, because like the influences I have like show up in ways that please me.
Mhm.
But I don't think anyone else would have picked up on that, like, or been able to like identify it unless like, well, I don't know, maybe they could. I just like, I like when I get the impression of from an instrumental and I'm like, oh, I got to do it exactly like this, like something I've heard before, but like do it in my own way, you know?
Yeah, I think it helps too with all the production that you're doing. All like that's something that can only exist like right now, if you're taking it from like older music for that.
Oh yeah, for sure. And the production, I mean, like the production specifically, like the vibe of like the instrumental or the beat or whatever it is that I hop on, like has to kind of like move me to like do it in a specific way. Or like if I hear something, like sometimes you'll hear a beat and I'm like, this is cool, and like I could hear somebody else, I could hear like this artist. I don't know if I would do something that would work on this, like even if I like the beat, it's just kind of hard. Like, but like if I hear something that's really specific to something that I've heard before and I feel like I could do in my own way, like that's what really motivates me. And specifically like when with the ambient like type beats, like specifically the production from people like Sydney and Soma, and actually like I could name a few others like Digipack and Lino and Jay, like those prods specifically in that style where it's that very moody textured sort of atmospheric style of ambient. It's like that stuff is like that gets me going. Like that's the stuff that I'm like I gotta hit that like as soon as I hear it. And the other thing I like about some of those beats too is they remind me a lot, like they have a lot of like references and like sound effects used in like things that I'm really a big fan of, like old games, like old Source Engine games, like and like horror media that like a lot of like those sounds come from. Like that's literally like my shit. Basically, I love that style. So that's what specifically motivates me to use those. But yeah, I guess I can leave it at that.
Yeah, so I guess I was curious because you've done like so many different kinds of styles over the years. Like, how did you get into making music initially? And then who are some of your biggest influences for it? And we've been talking about some, but there's any others you haven't talked about yet?
Oh man, that's a question I've thought about. And it's kind of one I have to like peel back in layers. I mean, I got into music like a long time ago. Like I won't say like how long back, but like I've been around for a while, and there's been like various things that have influenced me to make art throughout the years. I can't even remember specifically what I started doing off the top of my head, but like I think specifically with this account and this style that it embodies was specifically like charms in Sydney, right? Because like I made this account with a couple of friends and I heard those and like that style really moved me to want to do something similar kind of in my own way, because I think there's a lot of emotional weight and that resonates in it, in like a feeling of like sadness and wanting to see your life change in a better way, but you feel stuck, like and that's what really resonated with me, because it felt like something like I've never done something in that style with like beats that really feel like they come from a place of like grief or like angst, you know.
Yeah,
I
especially
think
on
that,
like crawling or like claustrophobia of Skins by Charms, like those especially like feel like that to me.
oh yeah, and on top of that, like that sort of like those specifically, I love the sort of like, because like I get this a lot with like those beats that they come from like that like 2010s like Drake sound. I love that. I
Mm-hmm.
love that like ambient sort of Drake production that they were doing around that time. Like that also like I love that with the toms and stuff. Um, yeah, for sure. Like yeah, like I love that stuff.
Yeah, and then in terms of your vocals, I imagine you probably had actual like singing experience like prior to like doing like actual music project stuff, right?
I think like there were like projects before this that like I honed the ability to be able to sing better. I really like I listened to D'Angelo specifically when I was in high school. I was like, I want to sing like that because he's always singing in those really like high
Mm-hmm.
falsettos, that sort of sound, and like also inspired by like various post-hardcore bands. Like I loved Dance Gavin Dance, like them specifically
Mm-hmm.
with their styles throughout the years, like that sort of singing where it's very like high pitch, like falsetto sound. Like I strive to emulate that sort of style. So but I've never done any like formal like training or
Really? Wow.
yeah, it's just like it's really like I can sing, but like I can't sing like that, you know. That's all post processing stuff, you know. Like that's auto tune saving my ass. Like at the end of the day, like I think anybody can really sing like that, but you have to have like the confidence in the environment to be able to sing like that, you know. Like not everybody can do that because they you know, they live in a apartment with a bunch of people that can hear them. They live with their folks, like whatever, right? I have the fortunate ability to be able to have an environment to be able to sing and like really sing. So it's just really that I'm you know, I have the space to do it, and I think like I said, I think anybody can sing like that. You know, it's just about learning to really go for it, I think, and like exploring the limits of your voice.
That's really cool because I was assuming that you were like in choir as a kid or something. Because I know when I was interviewing like Gunk, like I know he grew up like singing in church and stuff. That's kind of why he can sing the way that he can on like some of his non-auto tune
you know,
stuff.
You know, it's funny. When I first made this account, I was lying to people about like my background just to throw them off. I used to tell them like, yeah, I grew up in singing choir in church, and I lied about like the setup I had just because I wanted to make it like, you know, like kind of develop a history behind this account. But eventually, I kind of left that behind, and I was just being honest, like, oh no, I never like had any formal training. I did. I think like if anything, like a lot of it's self taught too, because there's like a couple like I don't really do anything as far as like warm ups or like prep work beforehand. I really just kind of get in, you know, and just start. And like eventually, like I'll kind of warm my voice up by just like doing a couple takes and then
Mm-hmm.
like start to go for it a bit more. But the only other thing I could think that I did once upon a time was there was this YouTube video that it's like a really popular YouTube video about warming up your voice that I saw James Blake talking about. So I did that for a time period, but it's like it's basically where you make a bunch of bird noises with your mouth, and it like opens up your vocals to like increase its range for like a performance you're about to do. Basically like stretches before a workout. But other than that, no, I have no formal training. Just just singing in my room.
Also, how much of your recordings are punched in? I was wondering, just because like I feel like you're so loose on all your songs, also, but I don't know how much of that is like continuous takes.
Oh yeah, like I remember I was telling Incio or Yamamaya this, where I was like, yeah, a lot of that it's really down to the editing. It's really like CGI in a movie. Like it's like it's post processed to hell. It's spliced in with multiple takes a lot of the time. You know, it's really smoke and mirrors at the end of the day. Like, but that's all pop music. You know, at the end of
Mm-hmm.
the day, like I can kind of I can sing like that, but like it requires multiple takes to like actually get a good final recording. Even sometimes, you know, when I'm listening back to it, I don't entirely love, you know, the finished product, but that's, you know, you can't focus on that too much. You got to keep going, making more stuff at the end of
Mm-hmm.
the day.
Because I was gonna say, like, for some people when they punch in, like, you can tell where the punch in is. I feel like yours generally sound pretty continuous.
Oh yeah, that I'm very meticulous about though. Like I've worked on other people's projects before where, you know, you can tell like where the fade ins start and end, or like they didn't even
Mm-hmm.
put a fade in, or it's like very like you can hear the air before the recording starts, things like that. With me, it's like it's a lot of post processing, and I'm also very meticulous with making sure that like I get a good take and line it up properly and fade it into the track before it, and making sure it sounds like it actually was done in one take. You know, and I fade out the ends. I do all like the post audio editing work to make sure that it's as good as it can be.
Yeah. And are there any like current people in the scene that you'd say are that you're inspired by? Because a lot of people are inspired by like their friends as well.
Oh man, yeah, like of course. I think like my biggest I've thought about this like who my biggest vocal inspirations were. And there's like two that come to mind instantly. Like obviously like Echo 2K is a big one,
Mm-hmm.
right? That very like airy, also kind
Yeah.
of falsetto sound. And also when I thought about it more, I realized that Corbin or Spooky Black was also like a big influence on me when I went back and listened to more of his material. And I thought like, I was like, wow, I never realized how much I was pulling from with this guy when I was listening to it. Like, especially with his lyricism too. You know, as far as like people in the scene, there's definitely some that I could think of. You know, obviously I'm inspired by the people that I like, everyone that I work with. You know, that's why I love working with them. You know, I think if anybody, I think Zay does a like a really good falsetto vocal. Obviously, Corey Lingo is up there, and Friendy, like both of them
Mm-hmm.
inspired it. You know, if you give me a little bit more time too during this interview, I guarantee you I could think of some other people, like in terms of like the vocals specifically, have like influenced me. And like not even for like the singy stuff, but Casper or PPG Casper, like his kind of emo sing-songy vocals. Like I've done like stuff like that before. That has also like because I used to listen to him a lot too. Like a lot of those emo rappers from back in the day, like, and even like still currently, like, were also a huge influence for me.
Yeah, I know Zay also has no formal like singing experience either. Because I asked him about that, and he's like, "No, I just do it."
Yeah, like that's really all it is. Like that's why I say like literally anybody can do it, and it doesn't matter, you know, like doesn't matter how much experience you have, like how old you are. It doesn't matter. You can really, you'd be surprised how much you can do once you like find the confidence to actually
Mm-hmm.
do it. You know, because I was like that with our where it's like you're living with your folks and like you're trying like to record, but like you don't want to be too loud because you don't want to have them hear you. Like I feel like that's like the way that a lot of artists kind of work in that like kind of hushed. Like I don't want to make too much noise because like you know I don't want people to file a noise complaint or like my folks come up and tell me you're being too loud. But it's like it's really about your environment and just like what you're comfortable doing with your vocals at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a problem that I've had because I have a roommate who he hasn't been here over the summer, so I've been able to be a lot louder. But like during the school year, I would have to time like when I was recording to like when he'd be home or not.
That's so funny. That's like Golden. You know Golden?
Yeah.
Yeah, Golden was like I remember when Golden was working on the last project he put out. He's like DMing me. He's like my roommate just left. I'm going to try to record this now. And then like the next thing would be fuck. He just got home. I'm like yeah, that's kind of how that goes.
Yeah, or like when I was in a dorm, like, because that's when we shared the room, so I couldn't get away with it at all. It's like if my roommate came back home, I just had to stop immediately.
Uh,
There's no
yeah.
choice on that.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Unfortunately, like I said, I've never had that issue. Like I have a whole studio that is set up for me for like my pops. He has like a music studio basically detached from the garage, right? So I go in there, I pull up my computer and just go to work, and you know I'm like good to go for a whole session, and you know nobody will hear it. So
Hmm.
that's it's like the privilege that I have, like being able to record.
Yeah, I have a similar thing at my parents' home too, but I haven't been there in a hot minute, so I haven't had that.
Now, realistically, it's like, you know, I've also been in those like where you go to the studio and it's like some Like you go to your college friend's apartment, and boom, the studio is the closet. And all right, cool, that's the closet. We're gonna make it work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I was curious about your production also, because I know you don't self-produce like a lot, but I know you have been producing for like a good while now. So
Yes, and that is an ambition that I have to. That's a aspiration I have to want to continue self-production. Specifically, I'm working on that actually now that the tape's out. Because I said once this tape's out, like it'll give me a chance to focus on other things like self-production and also like some other multimedia projects that I wanted to work on. But yeah, self-production is definitely something that I want to continue into the future for. I think that I need to consistently get it to where I can make something and, mix it, put it out. Because I kind of fell out of doing that for a while because I figured like I got into the habit of like, it's just easier to like use somebody else's instrumental that they made, because sometimes you like, unless you're very creative and you know how to get exactly what you want, sometimes you don't know how to get that sound that you're looking for. Sometimes you hop on something that you wouldn't even think to have made yourself that really gets you going.
mm-hmm.
And I think what I want to do in the future is continue self-production to be able to make stuff like I've been using, but like in my own style, using my own, instruments, effects, things like that, and just kind of hone that basically.
Yeah, because like, would you say a lot of your production influences like are the kind of things that you already hop on, or are there some other things too that haven't really like made their way into your work yet?
Oh, for sure. But like, if we're looking outside of just like the stuff that I hop on, which absolutely, like all the producers that I've worked with, specifically, like especially the ambient stuff made by Sydney Soma, Digi, like outside of that, I'm also inspired by, just ambient sound effects from like games and atmospheres that like even their soundtracks have. Like the Half-Life 2 soundtrack, like that sort of like style and like the textures in it was something where it's like, yeah, I want to make something like that. Or like Cry of Fear, which is like a mod for Half-Life 1. Like those sound effects, that like style is like something that inspires me. It's like looking outside of it. Like I referenced it earlier, but like that Backrooms movie soundtrack, like that Kane made himself, like
mm-hmm.
that also is like, yeah, like that's cool. Like it's stuff like outside of just that, just the instrumentals that I hop on, where it's like I want it to sound like all of my interests and the stuff that I've been working on, just I'm producing it and I'm working on it and I'm making it as good as the stuff that I get sent from the really talented people that I work with.
That's always the goal. Yeah, I found a similar thing for me where it's like I have an easier time recording on stuff that I don't make for whatever reason, but it's more rewarding when it is your own production, I feel like.
I agree. And I think that you have more of a freedom once you are able to consistently produce for yourself and know how to get what you want. I think that, I'll always continue to use the great like work of other producers that work with me. And like I'm very gracious to like be able to have stuff sent to me that people like who are a lot bigger than me like would come to me and say like, hey, I want to work with you because you're awesome. But like, it's like you said, there's a freedom in being able to enable yourself to make something truly great. And I think people really appreciate and look up to and admire like that quality if you can do something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the last thing I was curious about for this part of the question, because like I think the first thing a lot of people notice with your work is that they go to like your SoundCloud, they'll see like all your single covers are just your profile picture. And at first I thought it was because like when you don't set a cover, like it just does that. But on streaming it's that too, which you have to set intentionally. So like what's the reason for that, I guess?
The reason is two things. One, I'm lazy. I don't like going to find album art cover, and I'm also very like OCD about like making sure things match. Like I hate having to make album covers or single art covers. Like if it's going to be different across the thing. So I usually just avoid it by saying, nope, I'm just going to use this. The art speaks for itself in terms of like what it is that I'm putting out. But also too, I think that it's one of those things that I saw the producer Adavan Korea or Yaya Yi doing, where he would do like the whole just my profile picture. It's just like, whatever it was at the time, like a tennis ball or just like him, and it's like, and when you do that, it really gives you like, it gives the audience, when they see it, they know exactly where it's coming from. They know, oh, like h3artch3rades dropped because this is his profile picture with the song. And it gives me an identity, and it stands out in a way where it's like, it's a very, I didn't make this profile picture. I just found it and I couldn't find it again after I found it on a whim. But like, when you see that, it's me, like, and they'll click on it and know exactly what they're getting or who they're getting it from.
Yeah, I will say that. Do you think it does hurt the songs from being standalone, just because it's hard to kind of distinguish him just by looking at him?
Yeah, that's one of the trade-offs that I have with it. I'm sure that that's one of the issues that you or some of the other folks that have listened to the music have had in determining it and like spotting it out from a playlist or something like that. I think that while that is like an issue that I know that people run into from time to time, I've been told this specifically. It's just one of those things where it's like, I probably won't change my methods, so I apologize about that. But this is kind of what I found works for me, and I'll probably continue to do it. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I do think one thing I kind of have liked as a side effect of it though, is that like, because it's all the same, like you never really know what to expect, so it kind of feels like you're like discovering the song almost when you find it, just because it's like they're all the same, so it feels like you're kind of just digging and seeing like what you get when you click on it.
Yeah, for sure. It like, that's what's fun. It's like a toy box almost. And I think like what would have me struggling because I'm like so OCD about like choosing something, like I would have to find a cover that fits the atmospheric vibe and feeling that I get from listening to the song, and I'd have to make sure it's congruent with the previous tracks after that, and like just make sure everything looks the same, because that's just how my brain works. I can't just like pick an artwork and just upload it and be happy about it. So it's one of those things where it's kind of it's different. It's been done before. It's kind of fun to like just be able to like, here's the track. It's a little like creatively limiting, or like maybe not as expressive as like uploading it with artwork, but it does allow me the freedom to just upload without a worry. And one less thing I have to worry about making sure like I'm checking before like it goes live. It's just like I can just post it and boom, same album art, boom, go listen.
Yeah. So moving on. So we were talking about it earlier, but h3artch3rades is not the first like artist project that you've had for yourself. So I was just curious, I guess like what your approach has been like for h3artch3rades specifically, and compared to like your previous work that you've had.
Yeah, I think the truth is like there was it's one of those things where I like to have the separation between the different projects that I've worked on, especially after like a certain one. Which
I think I know which one you're talking about for that one.
Yeah, right. It's like when you get, and I'll like, the way I could describe it is like when you get known for something like a specific thing, like, and you have these multi projects, right? Especially like if something gets popular that you didn't think was going to get popular, and then people only want you to do that sort of thing. It kind of gets annoying. So I like to have that separation. I mean, obviously you can look up who I am and see the projects that I have, and I don't care about that, but I'll never like choose to acknowledge them and reference them directly. Cause I like to have that separation, for them. It's just, my thought process behind it specifically, besides that, it's really just a personal choice of mine. At the end of the day, like I don't have any greater reason for why I do it. I do like the anonymity of it, even though like it's not exactly anonymous, but like you'd have to go out of your way to figure it out at the end of the day. And I'll let people who care to go see that, go find it. That's pretty much, what I have to say of that.
I saw on one of them, like you uploaded a song like at the end of last year, like on like your previous like alias from h3artch3rades. So it's like, it's not like completely abandoned, but it's kind of, I guess, like you don't really know what to do with it anymore.
Yeah, it's like yeah, you know, that project specifically, it's another one of those things where it's like h3artch3rades. I feel like those types of instrumentals right there even like are something that I feel like have longevity to go forward, and I kind of want to make sure that I put something out for like any other project that I do. I want to make sure it's very like congruent to the sounds that came before. That's why it's only like one style for that other one. But no, I haven't completely abandoned that one. That one's also a little bit more personal to me in as from like an identity sense. So it's one of those things where it might not ever be popular, and that's fine with me. But I will continue to work on that one.
Yeah, and then I also saw there was like a Dante Red song that you were featuring on. That was like from 2020 that just like came out, and it was just funny to see that was still like a not like still a thing because it's really old, but it's just like
which was never supposed to come out.
Yeah,
it was never supposed to come out. The account got hacked, and I didn't even know that was up on that page. Like I didn't know that, and actually hearing that makes my ears twist, like hearing it, because it's so bad, like in terms of like the vocal mixing and the leveling and like everything. It's very like outdated at this point.
But it was also like 6 years ago, so
yeah, like literally. But yeah, that was like crazy. I remember I asked, I was like, I went to Glacier, I was like, bro, like how, like I just saw this. It's like, did you see this? He's like, bro, that's crazy. I was like, yeah, I don't know. I was like, bro.
Yeah, and I guess also, do you have like a greater vision of what you want to do as h3artch3rades? Because this is kind of like your like, I guess like second or third kind of start as like an artist project.
You know, honestly, it's one of those things where I'm just gonna keep uploading music until I feel like I don't want to. You know, it's I never really had a plan or a vision other than just like creative output. You know, I never had any aspirations like, or at least with this project, I never had any aspirations to want to be anything other than just some guy who's uploading music, ultimately. And I think I have a bit of an identity crisis sometimes with like what it is that I really want from out of this. But I think like ultimately what it is like, you know, I don't necessarily know how I want this to progress. I'm just going to keep uploading stuff and just see what happens. And, you know, whatever happens at the end of the day, if this account stays like the exact same amount of followers, if it, you know, continues to grow and plateaus, if it gets bigger than it is, like, you know, it is what it is at the end of the day. But I'm just going with the flow of like, you know, just uploading stuff and just seeing what sticks.
Because this has been your most successful like project where you're being like yourself, right?
Yeah, to an extent, it's like a part of myself, I would say, but like it's also not like I keep it at an arm's distance from myself at the same time. It's one of those things where it's like I'm like I look at this project where it's like I'm not really like fully dedicating myself to it in the sense that it's not my full identity, but it's like a part of me that I'm putting out there for people to experience and like have them resonate with it. Where it's like, like if you hear what I'm saying and you hear like what, you know, if it resonates with you, then, you know, and you feel like sharing it, that's great. But, you know, yeah, it's like probably the most successful expression of myself that's gotten popular so far, but I don't really know what that means for me personally, especially with how long I've been doing this. And I don't really know what I want from the future of it. You know, I'm essentially at the end of the day, it's just me like being like, you know, I'm just uploading stuff, and, you know, I'm going to continue to work with people and, you know, kind of learn how. I think you know what, the bigger aspiration for me is learning how to make what I do better, and like also like exploring my creativity. Cause like, you know, there's times where I've been debating like, you know, dropping this and doing something else or continuing it. And I think right now my mindset is I want to continue it, and I want to get better at just the actual creative medium of not even just like making music, but like expressing myself in other ways, like multimedia projects, writing, you know, making stuff in, I don't know, like animating, like whatever it is, like, you know, it's just me trying to express like myself in a way, you know.
That would be really cool, actually, especially given like the visual aesthetic you have, if you were to try to do that.
Oh yeah, like and there's like there's definitely been ideas for how I would present the art as a visual medium, but it's one of those things where I'm very like I keep this close to my chest. Like I don't want anyone touching it. Like I want to have full creative control over it. And I don't know if people that I could look to outwardly, like another videographer, another cinematographer, or like another producer, mixing engineer, writer, I don't know if like working with them would be advantageous for like how I see it in my head. You know, classic artist struggle. But you know, I guess I'm just like a very particular person when it comes to like the art that I see for myself.
Yeah, I understand. I'm a similar way. So moving on. So I'm a big album listener. So admittedly, prior to doing this interview, I actually hadn't heard a lot of your singles. I think partially in parts we were talking about before, where it was like the same cover, so I don't even know where to like really start with them. But I'm very glad that I finally did, just because you do have so many really cool songs out there. And one of my personal favorites that I heard was Back to the Regular, which is actually anything but regular for you, because that is a way more like aggressive song than you normally do. So while that song might be called Back to the Regular, what are some times that you've kind of stepped out of your comfort zone?
As far as everything on the page is concerned, a lot of it very much is a comfort zone. As far as stepping out of my comfort zone, well, probably producing a full track for myself for the tape, right? That isn't like, you know, using a sample or like or at least like a sample from another song, or like having a co-producer or anything like that. And you know, even if I don't think it was perfect, like stepping out of my comfort zone in that regard, where it is just me producing for myself again, was very like, it took the longest out of like the entire process. That was definitely out of my comfort zone.
Oh yeah, because for that song, those are all VSTs, right? Because they sound like super clean for VSTs.
Yeah, a lot of it, like, yeah, I'm pretty sure like it was just like a plugin like Expand or something like that for strings, and then like a lot of it is down to the like the samples. Like it's a lot of samples from you know, things that I just had laying on my downloads folder for like sound effects that I could mix in, and a lot of it is just like working in Ableton and like messing with the in DAW like plugins you can play with that they have. There's a lot of cool presets you can mess with to get cool sounds. But mostly it's like sample driven. Like in terms of like the sounds, the vocal sample specifically was pulled from like an OST from an anime that I'd watched like years ago, and I had to get that specific part where she was singing because it was really good, you know. But I think there's only like one synth that you could really say is a synth on that project file, I think.
Yeah, and I'd imagine there's definitely other ways that music has kind of had you step out of your comfort zone. Because like, I know for me recently, I solo traveled for the first time myself. My friends were doing like a show in New York that I wanted to go to, and I had to like perform at it also. And I had never done that before. So I imagine it's kind of similar for you, where there's things that's made you do that you probably wouldn't have otherwise.
Oh yeah, I think that like that would definitely be something out of my comfort zone because I've never performed or anything like that. And also like, but I think like right now I'm at a point in my life where I realize that like I kind of just have to be like, well, why not? You know, like why not? Just do it and like see what happens. Like who cares? You know, like you're not gonna get hurt. You're not gonna lose anything. It doesn't really it doesn't like matter because you know I think at the end of the day, you know, you can't just let fear hold you back, or like you can't let anxiety hold you back from doing something that might change your life or might improve it in a way. So, you know, as far as out of the comfort zone, I'm more so like leaning towards screw it. Like, let me take that trip. Like, let me go do that thing that I said I was going to do like years ago, and I said I was going to do, and I hadn't done it. Like, what's the worst that can happen, you know?
Yeah, I think especially as h3artch3rades, I think performing definitely outside of your comfort zone, just because it's like you got to show your face to do that, which you do not. So
yeah, I thought about how like you know I thought about that because I've had the opportunity to perform live, but I've turned it down because I just didn't know how I wanted my identity to be perceived on stage. Like, do I really want to show myself and like what would that expression look like? Like how would I express that? Would I hide my face? Would I show it? Like what would I do?
I mean, you can do like the Billy Woods method.
Yeah, the Billy Woods method. Yeah, where like but like Billy Woods, like, you know, with him, it's like I don't know how he does it live necessarily. I know like he does for his album covers.
I think live he doesn't do anything, but people always blur it in post out of like respect and stuff.
That's really cool. I like that. Yeah, and I know he does that too for his album covers. That's awesome. I love that. I love that sort of thing. And he does those interviews where he hides his face and stuff like that in the interviews. Like I love that.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the Arm & Hammer Tiny Desk that just dropped, but like he has like a black, like it wasn't even in post. He just has like a little square over his face like the entire time he's performing.
I didn't know Arm & Hammer did a Tiny Desk. That's
yeah,
cool.
It like just dropped.
I'm gonna have to go see that. That's sick. I gotta see that.
Yeah, have you like met anyone like IRL like through doing music?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I met a friend of mine named Guala Gabe a couple years back in Chicago. Recently, I met Mental like a year or two ago. I went down to the beach and met them and a couple of my other friends and that I met through kind of Blixie and Mental, and that was cool. Like we got some like jerk chicken and just made beats, and that was lit.
Because I do think for you it is the kind of thing where I know like being faceless is more convenient, but it gets to be a point where it does kind of hold you back in a way. I feel like because you're not able to do certain things because you want to remain anonymous.
Yeah, but it depends on like how you feel about that, right? Because for me, like I could remain anonymous and never like have a presence with my face, like and be okay with that, you know. And I'm still deciding, right? Because like I don't like being perceived visually in that way, I guess. And I think that there's some things I'd want to do for myself before I made a appearance to anyone, like especially like fans of mine who would want to see me perform. So unfortunately, like, you know, it's one of those things where it's like I don't know if I would ever do a live performance or I would show up to an event or anything like that, just because for one, the things in my life is very different now, and I don't exactly have the freedom to be able to move where I want to without having to make some arrangements and scheduling. But it's another thing where it's like, you know, if I did do that, I guess I'm just a little scared to do it. But at the same time, it's like I said, I'm at that point in my life where it's like, well, why not? You know, so I don't know. I'm going back and forth on it. And I'm kind of a hypocrite, and I'm kind of I kind of say things and I don't actually end up meaning them in the end for like commitments. So, you know, who knows what can happen.
Yeah, I will say that I feel like you probably go to an event just because it's like if no one knows what you look like, no one will even know you're there.
That you'd think that, but my face is out there, so like there's definitely going to be that one person who does know, and you know, that's like a fear that I have. Because I'm like it's like I'm not ready to be seen like and out there and like ready to be present in that environment, then I don't know. It's something I got to go back and forth on.
That's fair. Yeah, I'm still kind of getting used to the idea of being like perceived by people also. Because when I went to the Back to Zero tour, some people talked to me afterwards that knew me like from this, and it's just kind of weird that it's like beyond just like my room at this point.
Yeah, I mean, but you get out there though. Like you did the interview with Incio and Baby Azul, like Yamamaya and Baby Azul for their project. Because I saw that one, and it's like you're like actually like getting in that ecosystem and like putting like a presence to not just your identity in the interview too. So that's what's staggering about it, right? Because it's like, you know, you wouldn't think that like people would know who you are because it's like, you know, like it's just like, you know, I have such and such amount of listeners and followers. It's like whatever, but like, you know, it's it's like a small but big community at the same time where it's like, you know, people do know and people aren't like, you know, people will keep quiet about like the things that like you have outside of just one project, right? Or like something else that you're doing. But like, they know, like they do their research, you know, is my kind of understanding of how the community has worked.
Yeah, I don't know. I think for me it also just kind of stems from like, because I don't know if you ever had this experience, but I kind of just felt like invisible for like a lot of my childhood, I guess. So it's like when people, even like people at my college stuff will like know me, that haven't talked to me, it's still kind of bizarre 'Cause it's like I feel like I don't
I
exist
think
in all public spaces I'm in. I don't know.
I think in my experience, it's been one of those things where you get out of high school and you realize later from other people that you were more visible than you perceived yourself as.
Hmm.
Because there's so many people who I run into who knew me, like where it's like I was kind of like I had a friend group in high school that I stuck to, and like I didn't really like deviate outside of that. But it's like one of those things where it's like I didn't think I was that present, but like you go and come out of it and like later find out from people like, oh, like I had people that knew you, they thought you were like so funny or like X, Y, and Z, like and it's like, whoa, like it's just one of those things where it's like how you perceive yourself versus how others like actually saw you, but like the reality of it is a lot different than you find out later.
Yeah, I don't know. I do hope it's something that you're able to kind of come to terms with eventually, though, because I do think it is really rewarding to be able to kind of take ownership of your like identity. I guess not have to feel
Yeah,
like you have to hide from it, but like that'll come when it comes, if it comes.
yeah. It's like I think I'm just a little like intimidated and nervous about it since it's like new for me.
Yeah.
And I'm coming to terms with how I would want to like what I would want to see for myself like first before I did any of that. But then again, like if I miss that point, like if I miss that window of opportunity to be able to do these things, I don't think it would bother me because at the end of the day, like I have, this project got way bigger than I ever thought it would. And there's so many people who, care about and listen to it. And, I'm forever grateful for that. And,
Hmm.
at least I have that.
Yeah, for sure. Um, Something I really appreciate about your music is how consistently vulnerable it can be, as a lot of songs feel like you have your heart on your sleeve in a way.
Oh,
That
for
being
sure.
said, your name is Heart Charades, and charades are fake actions that you when you act something out.
Hmm.
And we've kind of been talking about it, but I feel like as an artist, it can be kind of hard to balance like your artist persona and then like your true self. So I was curious, are there any times that you felt like you've kind of been like, I guess like inauthentic in a way?
Oh, dude, all the time. Like all the time. Like that's one of my biggest issues and faults of myself is poisoning myself with the distance and like the unreality of like how I put myself out there and like how people would perceive that versus how I perceive it. Also, like I write all these lyrics and I don't want to think about them too much
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want to look inside and see how much of that was actually me saying like something about myself and just put me in a bad place again. Like I think like this whole account is inauthentic in the sense that it's like this is like this feel and I'll be the first to say it, like this is like these lyrics and these things that I'm saying are me, but like I've always been like, nah, I just like I don't know, I just wrote that and like I don't know, but like I don't really want to know how much of that was like how I was legitimately feeling at
Mm-hmm.
the time. It's like it's sad, like like because I never looked at it as like something where it was like, yeah, I'm just writing it and whatever, and then somebody will look at me and be like, this is really sad, like I'm really sad listening to this. I'm like, yeah, I don't know, but like I do know, like because I wrote that, and I know like that was how I was feeling like when I wrote that, like yeah, like inauthenticity is something that I struggle with, like being more authentic as a person and like learning to express myself as this is really me, like this is who I am, like and I know that a listener who's listened to this is felt these things like maybe not in the same way that I have, but like what I'm talking about when I'm saying these things in this song, like you feel this in some way, even if you don't know how to express it or why you feel that way, like it resonates. That's why people have stuck with it, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can definitely resonate with the lyrics thing because a problem that I found that I have with my own music, because I think when I first started getting in like recording, I was always in a bad mood, so I'd always just write about like sad stuff. And now I think whenever I record, my default mode is writing about sad stuff, even when I'm in a good mood, and it almost like messes up my own mood in a way because that's just kind of like what I've trained myself to do.
Yeah, a lot of my lyrics that I was most frustrated with in terms of like, when I was writing about it, it's like like I said, that 2023, 2024 time period of my life after that, I was working a shitty job, and I had a terrible sleep schedule and a terrible diet, and I felt like I was just stuck and I couldn't do anything. And I just felt like, how am I going to get out of this? Like, how do I like change this? Well, I mean, I'm here to tell you that, like, I mean, it just takes time at the end of the day, because like now my life is completely different, you know, and it just feels like, just feels so like stressful at the time, and like it just feels like I can't move forward. But like honestly, like time is what will move you forward. And like nowadays when I write lyrics, I'll say this, like the rainy season at some points felt like remnants of like those feelings from how I felt transitioning into and out of that time period. I think that's why the album's like structured in the way that it is, where it feels very like tough. Like it feels very tough and like and deep and dark and miserable, at least from my perspective, to get through. But then like it ends in like in a way that I feel like is very triumphant, you know. And I think nowadays when I write lyrics, it's very much so like based on what my interests were. Like that Beyond the Zero track that I dropped. I finished a book called Gravity's Rainbow by Thomas Pynchon, and that book like basically turned me up. Like I was like, I gotta like I love the themes in this book and like what he's referencing in this book, and I just gotta talk about like something like really cool like that for this track. You know, nothing necessarily that has to do everything with me, just something that I was like interested in. And I'm like, I gotta write something about that.
Yeah, have you found that it kind of manifests in terms of like, I guess how you present yourself as an artist too? Because I've noticed there's like, because I have like different Instagram accounts, I've noticed I'll type differently depending on which one I'm using for some reason, even though they're all like me. And I don't know why I do that, but it's something I've noticed that I do. I don't know if you have a similar issue.
Yeah, I think the way that I talk casually versus how I talk as an artist to people and like fans is like, I want to be perceived in this way, so I type like this. Versus like if I'm just casual, like I'm a very like normal typing person. Like I like kind of like I type how a normal like every man would, you know. But like when it's my artist self, it's like, oh, persona mode on, like now I got to type like this, you know, ultimately. So yeah, I definitely get what you're saying.
Yeah, and it's weird too, because like I think they're all still me. It's just like I don't know why I do it, because I can tell that I'm doing it when I'm doing it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it's just like a switch I can't turn off, because I've been like lying about the identity of this account because I wanted it to be like another person ultimately. Like you know, it's like, oh, it's not me, it's like this other person that, you know, nobody knows about, even though it's like, even if it's an unspoken thing, it's like whatever. I don't care about that. Like it's just my way I want to identify myself.
Yeah, is this the first time you've kind of spoken about that like publicly at all?
I think it's one of those things where it's like, you caught me like 2 years ago, maybe like I wouldn't have even wanted to talk about it, but it's like at this point I don't really care. Like like I won't like directly reference the work, but I have no problem talking about it, especially because of that Genius page. It's like whatever, like it's like it's out there. Like you can go see it. I don't care. Like I'm not gonna announce it or like reference it in any other way than like a vague response, you know?
Yeah, that's fair, because like that's the only reason I even know about any of that either. Because like before, like I thought h3artch3rades just like was like your first project ever. Like I didn't know there was stuff like prior to it.
Yeah, I think there was something that like made its way onto the other pages where I was just like, all right, this is too much. Like I had to ask somebody who typically manages like those Genius pages, like, yo, can you just remove this information? I don't even care about the other stuff. But like, I'm also kind of inconsistent about that, because it's like, I mean, at the end of the day, like some of that stuff's out there. Some of it's like, you know, been redacted because it's like, you know, I feel like that's going too much into it, but like it's already pretty far. Like it's already given like way too much information out. But at the end of the day, like, you have to go out of your way to see that stuff, and you know, people can do that. I don't really care.
Yeah, that's real. I think I've also noticed for me that, because if you go back to the older ones, I don't have it, but I think now I've definitely kind of developed like a hidden driveway voice whenever I'm like speaking for these. I think just because it is kind of like you have to perform in a way, and therefore like I'm a little more higher energy than I might be like normally. And like,
yeah, I think I feel like that's kind of like just you know, like it is kind of a persona, but it's like it's almost like a professional persona, where it's like, you know, you are doing this for a certain type of, like you're going into it with a specific mindset, and I think like reporters or like journalists or like people who interview others, like kind of have their ways of doing things. So like in a way, it's kind of just like you shifting mindsets for how you want to talk about information, or like talk about ask questions that you feel like are pertinent to the conversation of like getting to know like an artist, and like you want to be like upbeat and like
Yeah.
conversation driven. So like it makes sense.
And not that that's not how I am, but it's just like a more amplified version. Because I can like for that show I was talking about before, I was like performing as part of my friend's set for like one song that I was featured on. So I didn't have my own set or anything, but like I was interviewing people at that show, and then my friend was asking me like, "Are you nervous to perform?" Because it was my first time like ever. I was thinking kind of like not really, because I was kind of already in like performance mode because I was doing all like the interviews. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's good too, because like when you're talking to everybody in that environment, you're kind of getting you're kind of like you're kind of already there in the environment. You've like already gotten adjusted to the atmosphere, especially
Yeah.
since you've been talking, and you're like feel like, okay, I got my groove now. Like I can go up there and like it's just like like how I've been talking and like interacting with these people here. Like so it's not that much of a shift, right? So that's cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I think inauthenticity is something that definitely like every artist struggles with to an extent, because it's like I don't think anybody's ever being like fully themselves when they're like an artist, and maybe they want to portray themselves as such, but like I think especially now, because a lot of stuff is very like antics based again. It's like you might be doing that, but that doesn't mean that's like you doing it. I'm not saying like you specific, but like there's a lot of artists now that are kind of relying on like antics to get like attention and stuff, but that might not be like how they actually are, just like on their own.
Yeah, but the way that I think about it is that like at the end of the day, do you really want to put your full self out there and like be like the most authentic person for people to see? Like it's like putting part of yourself out there. Like this is me. Like treat me carefully. Like don't like I'm fragile. Like don't hurt me. And you're presenting that out there for people to see. And when somebody says something like it's your authentic art, like it's you, and they say something where they're like, I didn't really like this, like I didn't really like that, like I didn't like that you did this, I didn't like that you did that, it feels like you're getting attacked. Like it feels like like this is like my baby, like almost
Mm-hmm.
like this is me putting myself out there. And it almost feels like in my case, like in something that I've worked through, is like it almost feels like I'm getting judged because
Mm-hmm.
like I just poured my heart out, and like maybe I didn't get it out there like in the way that I would have wanted to ultimately expressed that's perfect. But like when people pick at like your authentic work, it kind of hurts more. So I kind of get it in a way where people want to present themselves as, or like do something that feels inauthentic and like putting on a persona, because I think a lot of people at the end of the day you know either have been hurt, don't want to get judged, don't want to get perceived in a negative way that exposes them. And I think like I think for sometimes that you see that it's two-faced, but also most of the times I see it feels very like self-preservative is the way that I see it.
Yeah. I think that's why a lot of artists also don't like when you call them like their actual name, even if it is like public info. Like when I see people call like the Weekend Abel, like it's just so weird to me, because it's like
I think
you don't know him.
I think that's a little different too, because it's like at the end of the day, like this is like it's like when you're getting called something outside of your job, like my job, like you don't know me as Abel, like I'm the Weekend to you,
Yeah.
like you don't know me in the sense to call me that, where it's like we have that established relationship, so I get that too, because it's like I feel like when you're calling somebody by their first name, or like or something like that, it's like not everybody's gonna get offended by that, and they'll think it's like they'll laugh or whatever. But like I think a lot of people, especially like with the Weekend, since we use that example, like especially with how popular he is and how big he is, like yeah, I can kind of get like if you would be like a little like taken aback at that specifically. I think I've seen other artists like who are that popular also get like kind of weirded out by that and it makes sense to me.
Yeah. So you were talking about, your art, your baby, and something I think is cool about your projects is that they always feel really like purposeful to me. Because with the his and her experience, that definitely kind of felt like it was meant to kind of establish you like as Heart Charades. Because I think that's kind of the most like I guess consistent and like tone that you've had for a project. It was like poppy or fun music for that project. And then the Princess Diaries meant more to showcase your range because there's a very big variety of like production on that project. Mm-hmm. And now with your newest one, which is the Rainy Season, which just came out, rather than continuing the upbeat sound that you had previously, you went for a way more like melancholic and atmospheric sound that helps highlight your vocals a lot more, as well as your writing. So what was the process for working on that project like?
Yeah, so I mean, if you'll notice, like the themes for some of those are that they are very different and that they are very like they don't sound exactly like the other ones, and they all have a similar, like in terms of like the tracks that are in them, they have similar vibes, right? Mm-hmm. You know, for me, like my thought process going into it is overall like the feeling and the atmosphere and the vibe that I get from like the instrumentals that I use. If I'm putting a project out, I want them to at least feel congruent to one another, where they feel like they could run into each other and they all have a similar sort of, I don't know, it could be like the texture of the beats. It could be like the atmosphere of like how the instrumentals, like the instruments in the instrumental sound. It could be like, you know, for the Princess Diaries, like specifically, if I'm referencing that one, like my thought process was up to a certain point, like except for the last 2 tracks, I'd say, but say like the first 15 tracks of the Princess Diary, I wanted it to feel very like, I want to use beats that feel very royal, feel very like elegant, feel very like you're in a ballroom almost on the big night of like Princess coming out, like something like that was my thought process. And then the last 2 tracks on it were like, and you wouldn't know this because I never stated any of this, but I wanted those to feel like bonus tracks that don't necessarily follow the same logic. But for the Rainy Season specifically, I felt like that one was my most cohesive and congruent project, because it was very focused in the sense that it's like I knew I wanted to use beats that sounded like they could be, you know, you could listen to them in the rain. You know, it could be like, you know, you listen to them in a sun shower, you listen to them when it's heavy rain, you listen to them like in like an environment of like, you know, rain's clearing up. That's kind of how I went into that project, where it's like, you know, it's very stormy in the beginning and then you come out in it and like the rainbows at the end of it, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's all about the vibe and like the atmosphere and the feeling that those instrumentals have at the end of the day. Like I don't go into it with like a concept other than that. Like there's no grand overarching theme for a lot of my projects. It's all like concept based in the sense that it's like, I want to go for this vibe and sound, and I'm going to look to try to get that as best as I can.
Yeah, if I want to talk about some of my personal favorites off of it, I really like Skeleton Key. There's some melodies out here where it just makes me feel like a baby, and I don't know how to describe that, but the piano on that song like puts me in that state when I hear it.
I agree. I think it feels very like it feels very precious and delicate, kind of like an infant, you know. And I also think that it's like it feels very much so like you're taking a walk while it's raining outside and it's very gray out. Is how I kind of perceived that beat. Like it felt very much so like I was taking a walk around town while it was raining out, and you know, it was like the mid-afternoon or evening. Like that's kind of the vibe that I got from it that made me feel, or like maybe it's like morning out and you're looking out the window and it's like raining and gray. Yeah, that's kind of the vibe that beat gives me, you know.
That's just kind of a special feeling to like recreate, because I feel like I have a lot of good memories from like when I was younger of like that exact setting.
Yeah, right. It's like it like, and I love the rain for like obviously with this project, but like you know, I love when it rains. I don't really like when it's all sunny outside. You know, take that for what you will for like what that means for the music I make. But like you know, it's a very special feeling. It feels like when you look outside, it's raining. It feels like, you know, you're gonna lay inside. You're gonna, you know, like keep the lights low. You're gonna put on a book, or you're gonna brew some tea, and you're gonna like, you know, be relaxed and or meditative or melancholic, like is the feeling that I get when it rains.
Yeah, or like you're walking outside with an umbrella and you get to kind of just be in your own little world because no one's trying to stop you when it's raining outside.
Yeah, literally, right? Because it's like who else except those in solitude want to go out when it's raining and just be with themselves, right? Like other than those who are in solitude.
Yeah, I also really liked All Learned, because I feel like you don't play with production like that as much, where it's more like guitar centric.
That was actually one of the first beats that I heard that Teo sent me, where I got the idea, like, this sounds very spring. This sounds very like it just cleared up after a rainy day, that I had the idea to make a project like that. So that was like one of the first ones that I heard in terms of the overall concept. And yeah, I agree. It's like a sound that I don't think I've played with. It's a sound that I think that I like. I think I pulled that one off as far as I am concerned. I don't think I pulled it off perfectly, but in terms of capturing something that feels very, letting your guard down, like telling you a story, telling you something like personal, that was met, and like telling you what it is that I took away from like something with that lyrical content. Like, I think I pulled it off.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, admittedly, I haven't had the chance to listen through the album like while reading the lyrics yet, but that song immediately to me like reads like the most personal one like on the album.
Oh yeah, because it's like real, like it's authentic, like that happened to me, like, like, and at what point, like what, like, you hear all the time about people who have regrets that and things that they wish that they'd never done, wish they'd taken back, wish they could have done different. But the key, like, is ultimately to, not get bogged down in those feelings, but to ultimately come out like a better person, and ultimately learn from mistakes or things you wish you could have done differently, and how you can continue to improve and be better. Ultimately, yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, would you say that song's kind of a leap for you also? Because I feel like lyrically a lot of your other stuff, like, it will be like vulnerable, but it won't be like personal, because it's a little more vague, I guess in comparison to like that song.
Yeah, it's up to the person consuming it, but to me, like, when I hear that song, it's the most exposed and naked that my content has been, in the sense that it's like, you wouldn't know this, like, this could just be like something for this song, and maybe this didn't happen, but like, to me, that like legitimately happened, and it's personal to me, and it's very vulnerable to me, because and it's not like completely vulnerable, because other than this interview, you would never know that like that was like a real thing. It sounds like it could have happened, probably happened, but to me, tell you like that is an experience that I had that I put into a song. It's probably one of the few times that I've actually had something happen to me that I wanted to write about, and put it to like actual content for a song.
Yeah, I think it's really cool though that you are kind of able to, like, even when you kind of have had your guard up as like the h3artch3rades like persona, you were still able to make something that was like that.
Yeah, I think it's like a mindset adjustment, and like, just coming out of certain situations, being like less skittish, and just exposing myself more, and like being like, okay, I'm okay with like sharing this about myself. Like, I'm okay like letting myself be open in this way now, because I think I would be more okay now to be told like, oh, this didn't work. This was a letdown. This didn't work. Because if that's the case, then okay, like I think I'm in the headspace to be like, that's okay. Like, that's okay. Like, and I've gotten like feedback like that, where, people have responded and given me feedback and criticisms, like good criticisms for the project, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like, that's okay. Like, I'm going to be okay. Like, I can use that and move forward and know how to continue. And, even if I don't take all of that into consideration to actually, like change the way that I do things, I'll at least know what to work on specifically.
Yeah. I also appreciate that song too, and I forget where I read this, but like, I think when your lyrics are more personal, you might not think it, but I do think they come off as more relatable also, because the specific details like can add a lot to people's own experience. They can like be like, oh yeah, I've had something like that happen too, compared to when it's more vague.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, the ways that I would let my guard down in the past were ways where I would sneak it in to where you wouldn't be able to identify that was something that really happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of is masked on top of this vagueness, or this like this hard to parse quality. But like that one is the most like bare I've ever like let myself be on a track and it's not even like I think like there are things I could do to even be more authentic and exposed in that way, but like that one is definitely the one, like I said, like that I look at and think, yeah, this track here, I would point to that one and say, this is the one that I am authentically me and like saying something about myself.
Yeah. Another one I like a lot is AAAMU'S, because like the do that that gets stuck in my head all the time right now.
Yeah, Ellens and heroin with the prod, like going crazy, and Velvet with the Mel too, like like yeah, that one, I think that one, if we're talking about like just what I like to hear on a track, that one's definitely my favorite like ear candy one. That one was a lot of fun, and I love the instrumental too. Very, very much so feels like you're in like an ocean swimming, like and like the waves are coming, like it's very like floaty in that way. But yeah, I love that one. I love like how mystical it is. I love how like you can parse apart something's happening here, and like maybe I won't ever explain like what it is, because like in my mind, like I know what I'm writing about there, but like I like to leave tracks like that are more vague in the lyrical content, like up to interpretation. But like yeah, like that sort of song, like that's just the stuff I love to write and like make is that sort of floaty, ambient, kind of like, okay, he's like saying something here and I don't really know what he's saying, but like it's cool. Like that's the stuff I love to do.
Yeah, and I appreciate how the project as a whole is more of like I was kind of a slow burn in a way, because the first time I listened to it, it was like I liked it, but I think in my head I was kind of like expecting more like Princess Diaries, like hard hitting kind of stuff on it. So the fact that it is like you kind of have to like really sit with it because it is more introspective. I think it's kind of brave as an artist to be able to do that after you had a project like your last one.
I was telling only right, like Sam.
Yeah.
I was telling Sam this, like, and I was explaining like I think a lot of the disconnect for this tape came from the fact that a lot of people from Princess Diaries are coming over straight to this, thinking they're going to get more of that, and that's just not really how I operate in terms of like I'm very much doing something different for the next thing. It's and I think I'll like go back to a sound similar to Princess Diaries like eventually in the future, but I don't know if that'll be soon, and I don't know if that'll be the next thing that I drop. But like, yeah, it is something. It is a slow burn, like, and it is something you need to sit with. And I think a lot of people will be turned off by that. But to me, this is the best body of work that I've put out that I'm satisfied with. I think in the future, the one thing that I look at as like a misstep was, not putting any features on it, but I'm not too upset by that because I know I'll do that in the future. But like for me, this project is very cohesive. It flows very well. It establishes the atmosphere that I was aiming for. And, I didn't want it to be perfect. Like I wanted to get it out there. Like I needed to finish it and move on to the next thing. And that's kind of the mindset that I'm working in now, So I think that I'm happy with it, and I am ready to continue,
Yeah. I also just appreciate artists that are like, they do what they want to do. Cause I didn't talk about when I did this for the last interview I did with Tropes, and I feel like with his albums, like he always does something completely different with each one. So I feel like when they first come out, I'm like not as into it because I expect it to be like the last thing for some reason, and then I realize like no, this is cool because what he's doing is like the thing for this album. So I appreciate that you're willing to do like what you wanted to do for this one.
Yeah, like that Tropes project was good. I was just listening to that at work on Friday, I think. I think, at the end of the day, like if there are people who don't continue to listen to what you do and because it doesn't sound the same, I don't think that's the audience that you're trying to capture at the end of the day. Right? You want the people that'll stick with you through whatever you do. But like, not to say that they won't listen, like the people like that won't continue, but like there are some people who only want to hear one thing. And I think that a lot of artists get trapped into trying to please people. And I'm like, I've been around long enough and seen enough artists come and go to realize that like at the end of the day, you need to be authentic to, you know, what you want to do. And if you listen to the echo chamber of your audience, like you will just stay there forever and never grow and never do anything that like satisfies you. Like you'll just always feel like you're messing up. And I don't think people know necessarily what they want until you try it and it like they sit with it, you know?
Yeah, that's like when a lot of mainstream artists are like, I'm gonna go back to my 2016 sound. Everyone gets excited, but it's
Never
like
do that.
you
Never
can't even do it properly because it was like you did it at that time.
You're not there. Don't ever do that. By the way, if you're an artist listening to this, don't ever go back to another sound thinking like, oh, you guys want this, I'm bringing it back. Don't do that. You're not in the same headspace that you were. You're not the same person that you were to do that sound in a way that will satisfy people like that anymore. Like you have to keep going. Like you
or yourself
cannot,
either.
for yourself especially, right? But like don't get trapped in that bubble. Like continue to make stuff for yourself because people follow, you know, people who are like lead themselves. Like they will follow specifically artists. Like they follow leaders in the sense that it's like, I know where I'm going. I don't need you to tell me where I'm going, you know, is like the way that I see it, right? It's like you need to be confident in your ability and like who you are. Like you don't need to listen to people who will criticize you and like not know the art like you know the art for yourself, like your art. Like they can't tell you what you like, they can't tell you what to make. Like you can only you can kind of do that is like my way of thinking about it, you know?
Yeah, I agree. So recently I had the chance to interview Heroin, who actually has production credit on 2Moons, and we talked a lot in the interview about kind of the shift in the scene production wise to the more like off kilter sound that they help pioneer.
Yeah.
And you've dabbled with using beats in the style before, such as oscilloscope. I hope I'm saying that right.
Yeah, oscilloscope. Yeah.
Yeah, which like that's not exactly like Heroin style, but it had like a heavier swing to the drums than you normally do. And again, like the ambient scene has had a big influence on like her style as well. So like I think you always kind of have like dabble with it a bit, but I think on this album, like Half Full to Half Empty is definitely like the most like you've kind of done something in that style that I can think of, and that's another personal favorite off the project for me.
Yeah, that sort of style, that chaotic, unpredictable drum style, where it's more like a collage of like different sounds in an unpredictable fashion. I really like that. I really like that style. It's a little difficult to parse at times for like if you're trying to rap on it. Like I'm sure there's somebody out there who's like a lot like could pick it up better than I could. But like there are definitely like times where I've wanted to use beats like that because I just love that. I love that style and like as like an art form. But yeah, like Half Full to Half Empty, you could kind of see it in that regard where like the drum patterns are a little unpredictable. I personally like what really struck me about that beat was the melody and the heavy bass with like the pitch trail down in the bass. It felt very like it was building to something, and then like the beat's only like a minute and however long that song is, like that's how long.
Yeah,
the beat
it's a shorter
was.
one. Yeah.
Right, but I love that. Like I love how short the beat was because it felt like it was trying to bubble something up, and it just it kind of it stops, like it cuts itself short right before, and then it ends. I really liked that, so I wanted to use that beat to build up the lyrics. Like it's like bubbling up, and then like boom, I lost my confidence. I don't want to talk anymore. Like that's kind of like my thought process with that one. But like those chaotic style of beats, yeah, I love them. I've made one like that too, because like just collaging those different sounds together from like you know, whatever it is that you're taking it from is always really fun to like try and get right.
Yeah. When I first said there's kind of beats in 2024, I was really thrown off by it just because it's like I hadn't heard it before, and it was like I thought they were cool, but I just like couldn't wrap my head around it. And now there's something I really love. So given that the song's name is Half Full to Half Empty, I was curious, what are some things that you've changed your mind on?
I have to think about that for a second. I'm sure there's been something that's gonna spring to my mind here, that I've like changed my mind on. Oh, you know what? Well, I mean, okay, like I guess like everything is about an adjustment. So like when the newer artists that come when they have these very different sounds from what you've heard previously, like those are kind of like I've kind of learned to give those more of a chance. Like at first I would have been the type of person where it's like, what is this? Like, I'm not listening to this. This sounds like crap. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I think especially since I've been reading a lot more and and just like learning to consume art, I think a lot of the times, even if like, the artist can't articulate what it is that, makes the art so good. And, the art is, subjective to everyone, of course, like, there is intentionality behind everything if you look hard enough, like, and you dig deep enough. So like whenever I hear a new artist with like a different sound, like I remember, when I first listened to Xavier Sobeys like years ago, right? And I was listening and I couldn't I couldn't really understand it at first, but like now that music is like I can pick that up at any point in time and just listen to that nonstop and keep going,
Yeah, I had the same experience with Xavier actually.
Yeah, Xavier's, oh man, I love Xavier. Like I love Xavier's music. Like but like that's not really a fun answer. And you know what? I'm gonna have to think about that while we're still doing this, because like I'm sure there's something more interesting that I've thought about. I mean, I changed my mind on different movies like American Psycho, but like because I watched American Psycho with my phone in my hand, looking up every now and then, which is like not the way I should have been watching that. Same with Donnie Darko. In high school, I did that, and I should not have done that. Now I love both those movies, like because like it's like I love those movies, like especially American Psycho, because like I remember I went back, I saw a scene from it, and I was focusing on it, and I just realized like, wow, I dropped the ball so hard with this, because I never realized how cool some of these shots are, or like the certain like sound cues for certain scenes when things happen, like the way things like are, the way information is exposed in that movie. Mm-hmm. Like I just didn't realize like, wow, I dropped the ball in like consuming this like as a movie. Like I had to go and rewatch that, and yeah, that's like a great movie.
Yeah, I think film as a whole is something I've kind of changed my mind on, because I used to not really like care about it like at all. And then over the last year or so, it has become a way bigger interest of mine that I've like...
Yeah.
I've been going back and watching a lot of older movies that like, I should have already seen that I just never did.
Yeah, I'm like, my big thing right now is like reading. Like I'm kind of in my reading era right now. Like I'll still go to watch the movies, but like I'm not going out of my way to watch like some of the really revered like movies, although there are some on my list that I want to go see, like from really like notorious directors who have like that you wouldn't typically see otherwise if you were just going on Netflix or going to the movie theaters. Mm-hmm. Those ones you really got to go out of your way to see. Like, and I know they're going to be good, but like movies, to me are a big time commitment, and I just prefer reading at the moment, only because it feels very stimulating and like tactile. Like I'm touching the book, I'm like interacting with it visually. Like
you're picturing in your head with what you want to imagine. Yeah,
in my head, right? And I'm going in and I'm consuming like people talking about the book and like the themes of it, and it's also making me better at identifying like stories and just like consuming them and like understanding them. Period. Like no matter what it is, like. And I really love that. So yeah, my big thing is books right now.
Yeah, I guess reading something that I've kind of changed my mind on, although it's in the opposite direction, which I feel sad about, because I was a really big reader as a kid. And then when I started high school, I kind of just like stopped. And my parents blamed on me getting a phone that year, but I think the real reason is because I got into music like in 8th grade. So that just kind of became my hobby of like, if I have free time, I'm going to make music instead of like read a book, because it's like a more active activity for me. That's
good though. If my kid was doing that, I would love that. It's like if I ever have a kid that's like, and they get into music, like that's exactly like I was basically exposed to music by my pops because he's got like a music studio, right? Like he's had a music studio forever, and like eventually I was going to fall into music. It felt like, so like it's really just about what you're exposed to.
Yeah, but it does make me sad because I was like a really big reader, but I think over time I kind of just found that like in my free time I would rather be able to make things and have that be like how I fill that time instead of like consuming something.
That's good though. Like, and also I think that, if you were ever a voracious reader, like you can always go back to it and find that again. Because for me, the way that I found reading again was I was in a period of time where I didn't feel like making anything and I needed another hobby to pick up besides making music. So, I picked up a book. I read Piranesi by Susanna Clark, and that basically kickstarted my reading journey from there. Like just reading, like I read like I think 8 books. Like I started in September last year, and I read 8 books in between that time period. And this year I've read like a handful, but I want to read more by the end of the year's up, because like when I have a downtime like I do now with this tape being out, like it just gives me the opportunity to work on things that aren't just solely dedicated to music. So yeah, like if you're ever in like a period of time where it feels like you have, you don't really want to make something, I'd say just pick up a book because, man, it's my thing right now.
Maybe after college is over because I'm entering my senior year right now.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, but that's fair, right? Like,
I have too much stuff going on. Like, I don't have time to read if I want to make music and go to school and have friends and all this stuff.
Like you're already reading enough as is. Like I get that.
Yeah, it's more so just because like my time is already split between so many things that it's like I feel like whenever I have free time, I would much rather do something that like. Granted, I think I am a bit of like a workaholic, unfortunately, so that's part of it too. But it's like I'd rather do something that can kind of contribute to like my output than like consuming something. I guess
that's fair. I wish I had that mindset like right now for like continuing to make stuff. I'm kind of like switching gears into like going more creative, like with just making beats and like instrumentals for my next project or like my second after this upcoming project that I'll do in the future. But like yeah, like I want to specifically focus on creating like instrumentals again. I think I've said like 10 times now in the past 30 seconds, but yeah, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it is hard as an artist when it's like you have so many different like outlets you can have that it's like you want to kind of dabble in everything, but it can be hard because then if you do that, like you're not going to be focusing as much.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, and there I go again saying like I'm going to try to say if I say that again.
I've been saying it a lot during this. I guarantee you. So it's okay.
I heard myself, but this is a tangent. I heard myself in this presentation I had to give at work, and I realized how much I was saying and like, and I started cringing so bad. But anyway, I just lost. What were we just talking about?
I guess just because like as artists, like there's so many things that we can do. Like I know you said you wanted like anime also, but it's hard to balance that when you're like a musician first and foremost.
Anime, like yeah, anime specifically, I've actually gotten back into a little bit, but like not. I got into this Chinese anime. I don't know what they call it necessarily. So
yeah,
but I got into this one called Link Click, and it's really good. Like it's by the same guy who made this other Chinese anime called it's called To Be Hero X, and it takes place in the same universe. But like Link Click is about like these two guys who help people by going into photographs, and they can go back in time by like using each other, and they help people remember things or like maybe get something from their past that they don't remember or like try to change something. And it gets crazy. Like I'm on the second season right now and it's gone in like a completely different direction. But yeah, if anybody needs a recommendation, go watch Link Click. It's really good.
Yeah, moving on. So I have a segment in each interview where I play rock, paper, scissors with the artist that I have on. And I used to be excited about this segment, but after I lost to Tropes in the last one, I'm currently on a 6-person losing streak, which is my longest one ever.
Oh, I know. I've been seeing it, and
Oh, really?
you're probably gonna. If we do this, you're probably gonna win on my account. I never win these.
Really? I mean, I hope so because this is like a bad pit that I'm in right now, and it just keeps sinking lower and lower.
Hang on, I might actually. I don't know how to do this on like Discord. I just enable my camera like this for this part here, and then we can do it like this. That way, it's more visual.
Okay.
Let's see what happens.
Oh, yeah, there we go. I think you and
Alright,
I
cool.
did the same thing for theirs when we did it.
Yeah, this'll work. I'll turn the camera on for this part.
Okay. Yeah, so we're gonna do best 2 out of 3.
Okay, bet.
All right. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot, bro. Okay, you have one.
That's 2 out of 3 though.
Yeah. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Okay.
You got me.
We're tied.
All right.
Now this is the one that really matters. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Tied again. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Bro,
That's
7
in a row.
7 in a row that I've lost.
Yo, I don't feel like I've won a rock paper scissors in so long though. So I feel pretty good.
That's oh my god.
Sorry,
Wow.
that's unfortunate.
Maybe next time I'll get him. I don't know.
Yeah, you know, eight times the charm is what they say. I think.
Dude, like your heart trades, you got 2 3s. That's 6. We're on 7 now. This is horrible.
Oh yeah, bro. About the threes, by the way, I don't think I even thought about this name when I made it. So like, I kind of hate that the 3 looks like an E, but like charades does not have an E in it.
But it still like
But, like,
phonetically
I don't-
sounds like it would.
I know, and it looks better than putting a 2 there or something like that. It
Yeah.
looks like a. So I'm gonna keep it. I don't really care.
Yeah, what does your name mean, by the way?
It probably sounds exactly as you think, but like I kind of needed a name that looked like charms,
Oh, yeah, I figured.
right? But I needed it to say something like, you know, kind of like, I don't know, like heart and then charades. And you kind of brought this up at the beginning. It's like, you know, playing charades with your heart, you know, playing games, that sort of thing. That's basically like how it came up.
Yeah, and you wanted to kind of, because I know you and Charms do work together like a decent amount, so like you kind of wanted to have it play off of his name.
Yeah, the goal was to see how far we could push this account specifically, and like we had 2 goals. We wanted to see how far we could take it, and also because we were using like Charms type beats and like working with those types of ambient producers, we wanted to see if we could get a song with Charms on this account. But now it's like, you know, I've interacted with Charms to the point where it's like the tape came out and everything. It's like you know, and now like apparently we're both doing great. You know, it's like that project specifically came out at the time that like I think both of us were not doing too good, but now it's like apparently we're both just good. Like, you know, like it's just crazy how life works.
That's great, because I know for him especially, like I know like Skins came out of like a pretty bad period also, so.
Yeah, I remember that too. Yeah, that's what he was saying. I think back in the around that time, I was also the same way.
I mean, I was too. I was going through like around that same era, so.
Bro, why was everybody in 2024 or like 2023, 2024 just going through like the worst thing ever?
I mean, for me, with my freshman year of college, that's just like a lot of new things at once. I feel like.
Yeah.
Like it was I'd say it was a good school year, but I had a lot of like very low lows during that.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. Like I've seen somebody like I saw a tweet that said like, why was 2024 like the worst like time ever? Like I'm like, huh. I guess that was kind of true, or at least for me.
Yeah, I'm glad y'all are both doing better now, and better than me at rock paper scissors apparently also. So.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I really thought I was gonna lose that one. I'm like, I know I'm gonna lose that when we do this interview.
Cause like I have been wondering, like it has the streak it has to end eventually, maybe, but I don't know how long it's gonna take to get to that point.
Yeah, you know, like the 8th time you do it, you're definitely gonna win that one. I know it
for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of Charms, we did just talk about him. I mentioned your feature run towards the start of the interview, and while this collaboration took place in 2024, I really love both the features you have on Skins by Charms, as they made for some of my favorite songs off that project. And you guys have a really cool dynamic, as you often share subject matter, but have very different like deliveries in terms of how you do it. Because you're way more like bright, while his is a lot more just like.
Yeah, that's exactly what I loved about those like features, because it felt very like yin and yang. It felt very like opposite of one another, but like very same at the same time in terms of like what we're both describing. You know, it like the sing-songy aspects of mine and like Charm's monotone rapping and flows, like it felt very like trade-off, and it felt very like playing off one another, which is why I think like that project, like that project and like anything else that was done was like very cool to me, like it artistically.
Yeah, I love the claustrophobia too, because y'all are singing together. It feels like a shared feeling.
Yes, yeah, I started that. I know I started that one off specifically, and Charm played off of that, and that was like the fun of it, you know. At the time, it was like bouncing off of the vibe that each of us was presenting.
Yeah, and that's why I was really excited when Duality released, because that's a full collab project between you two, and you already have such a great dynamic, like as artists.
I never thought that was gonna drop. Like you know, and like eventually I was just at work, and then Charms was like, "Yo, I'm gonna drop the thing," and I was like, "Oh, like." Okay, yeah, like, and I was like, all right, yeah. I mean, I don't think we were ever gonna work on that as much more than we did. I think we were basically like done with that project, at least in our minds, right? For like, I wanted originally back in 2024 when we were working, more like we had more time to work. I wanted it to be a lot longer. I wanted it to be like at least 12 tracks, if not, you know, more. But, you know, I think like with the turbulence that was going on at the time between like, you know, different things happening in our lives, like it just like we got enough done to get it out. Some of those songs, I know that like in my heart, like from where they were written, like they hold a special place. And it's some of my best flows in like writing, in my opinion, like are still in that project. It feels
that last song especially I really like. Yes,
there was a snippet of that like from years ago too, and you know, we had those files just sitting around, and I'd not heard from Charms in a while, and then he just came back and like was like, yeah, I'm dropping it. I'm like, all right, yeah, go for it. Let's do it. But yeah, like that last one, and especially the It's Okay to Not Be Okay, like that one, those two specifically mean a lot to me, especially with how good I thought they were. And the production, like, man, I wanted to use those Soma and Digi beats forever ago. So I'm really happy that eventually, you know, came to fruition in some capacity, even though it might have been a little like not the full vision, but it's out, you know, and that's goes back to what I was saying. It's not perfect from what we wanted to do, but it's out, and that's all that matters.
Yeah. One of the songs off that project is Race the Clock, but you've shown that you generally like being pretty intentional with your releases, taking time to make sure they feel perfected to you rather than rushing them out. So I was curious, where are some times where you realize that you need to slow down on something?
Slow down? Yeah, definitely with just the expectations of life in general, right? Like I think that there's a lot of pressure that gets placed on young people, especially like that makes us feel like we need to do things like immediately, or else like it's never going to play out. Like the truth is, like, sometimes it's just not meant to happen when you thought it was going to happen. And eventually, if you at least try to do something that you were saying you were going to do or wanted to do, and just try to be consistent with it, it will eventually pan out. It will come to you. Is definitely one of the times where I felt like I need this to work out. Like, you know, all the time that I think I have isn't guaranteed. Like, but like eventually I got everything, like almost everything that I needed. It just took time, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one thing for me would be these videos, honestly, because like I guess me and you know this, but like this interview was supposed to happen like a year ago, but then
Yeah, yeah.
I went on hiatus and then I just kind of got busy. So like I feel bad. We talked about it, so it's fine. But like this got pushed back way further than I initially wanted to do it. I'm kind of glad we're doing this now because I feel like because of the rain season, I feel like my perspective on you as an artist has definitely like changed a bit, which is cool.
Yeah, and it's like also like, when when things like that don't pan out, like I wasn't like I was like, like I know that like a lot of people are in like school at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, and it's like I know that this will happen. Like I was like, yeah, this will happen eventually, like, and it's cool that it's happening now. It's like same with like a lot of people come back and they tell me like, oh, like I'm sorry, like X, Y, and Z like came back. I'm like, dude, it's fine. Like I do the same thing where I'm like, I say I'll do one thing and I don't do it, and and because it's really that life gets busy. Like it
Yeah.
really is just that, like, and that's not anybody's fault, So I'm happy to be doing this now, especially that we've had the time away from when we said we would do it. I feel like now I have a lot of different things to say than I would have, you're like a lot of better things to say than I would have like
Yeah.
last year.
It's weird how that works. I feel like people change so much in a year, especially like when you're our age, where like so much happens each year.
Yeah, I think it's like it's one of those things where I feel like you're just like you're growing and you're just maturing, and you just like the more you grow and mature, like the in short amounts of time you change very quickly. Like and like in the next year or two, like I'm gonna probably be a different person, like in a better way. I would
Yeah.
hope.
Hmm. I think another thing that I would say is I think my music consumption as a whole has gone down a lot. And I don't know if I like that it has, but I feel like now, like when I listen to an album, I spend a lot more time with it instead of going to like the next thing immediately.
I am the same way. I also have noticed that my music consumption has gone down, but it's one of those things that I'm actively trying to identify that like there's things that I wanted to do, not just music, that I used to do that I don't do anymore that I want to get back into.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's really just about like where you're at in your, like I said, it's like where you're at in your life. Like sometimes, you don't really want to hear music. Sometimes you want to hear, a story, or you want to hear, what's going on in the world. And like that becomes part of your life more than music. Like, I think that like I've been trying to listen to more music that I hadn't heard before. Like I went back and listened to like old Lil Wayne projects that I hadn't like heard before, just to like hear them. And I've just been trying to like I got Apple Music again, just so I could consume more music easily. And because it's something that I want to do is just get back into listening to music, because like I get inspired in different ways, and like music is definitely one of those, of course. But like other projects inspire me a lot too right now. Like I said, multimedia projects specifically are something that, and like books are another thing that
Mm-hmm.
inspire me a lot right now. So and games and things of that nature.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like from how you've described it, it's obviously I don't know very much, but it seems like your life generally is like pretty easygoing at the moment.
Yeah, I am right now, because right now things are, going my way, and I'm a lot more. I don't know if optimistic's the right word, but like I'm just a lot. I'm in a better headspace
Mm-hmm.
to kind of be easygoing, because there's not too much in my life to complain about right now, and that's good.
Yeah, I mean that's always the goal. With the music consumption thing though, I am scared because I know as we get older, like you do seek out new music less, and I don't want to become one of those people. But I am afraid that it just will kind of just happen naturally, like as I get older.
It's yeah, it's like a fear of changing, but like I think I've been through that phase where I've noticed it and kind of gotten a little sad from it. But I've also realized that like it's okay to not be as into something as you were previously, because it's still there and you
Mm-hmm.
still want to act on that. But there might be other things that are preoccupying your interest too that will like flourish in that, you know? And like you're always gonna like I'll always like music, right? And I'll always consume music. I think I'll never stop consuming music. It's just the volume of music that I consume is going to be different. I think like especially as you get older, right? Like life really takes over, like and you know you have other things that you focus on, so your time becomes very valuable for where you choose to put it. So you know I choose to do that with things that are, you know, I can stop and start at a moment's notice. Like music is one of those things, but you know, like I keep saying, reading is definitely one of those things. So you know, it's not all bad, even though it's like it feels a little like it feels a little hard to stomach when it's happening and you're noticing it. But like sometimes it just means that you're looking for you're looking for something new in your life. In my case.
That is true, yeah, because I have been watching a lot more movies instead of listening to music, so like definitely has been a shift for me as well.
Yeah, and like you know those like movies and music are two things that are, you know, that coincide with one another most often, like because you'll hear music in movies and like that's also inspired me too, when I hear like music that's in a movie in like a way that really elevates it. Too, but yeah, you know, like I've definitely been there, and you know, I will say like I've been there, and now I'm getting to a point where that feeling is kind of coming back. So it's kind of just something you can look at as, you know, it'll probably come back, like that feeling where you want to consume more music.
Yeah, and I think it's cool too how film can kind of impact music as well. Because me and Tropes talked about, like, there's a lot of like shows that he pulls from, like when he's writing now.
Oh yeah, I've noticed that too. Zay does the same thing too. Like Zay was telling me, like on our song specifically, like he's like, oh, you know, like this comes from this TV show that like I'd seen. I didn't even know it came from that TV show. I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I think it's cool how that works. So moving on, when I first found your music last year, I thought that you were a relatively new artist, as your first song was h3artch3rades dated back to 2023. And while that is true, as we've been talking about, you've been active in the scene for a very, very long time, having songs that date back to 2018 under previous aliases years.
Oh God, it's that long? That's crazy.
Yeah, and as a result, you've undergone a lot of sound shifts over the years, which have been, I guess, kind of like tangentially related to just like the overall like sound of the scene, like plugg, emo rap, and digicore, just to name a few. All of which I'd say are still parts of your sound today in a way, but they feel kind of like your own like take on them now rather than just like doing the sound at the time.
Yeah, for sure. I think that especially back then, it was more so identifying how to do that sound, or like how, if there was a sound that I wanted to do, it was trying to figure out how to like just how I can emulate that. But I've like, obviously, like, you know, as you said, I've been doing music a long time, so I've had a lot of time to sit with and develop something that does feel like my own. And there's like little vignettes of like that sound still in there, and there's a lot of crossover from old stuff, like flows. I know that like one of the things I've noticed is like a lot of the flows that I use, I've noticed are pulled from old songs that I've heard, or like things that I've maybe like, I remember this flow from somewhere, but I don't remember where I heard it from, kind of. So, yeah, it's definitely something you can still hear in my music. I know that I've had people come and tell me that it sounds like X, Y, and Z, and I told them, yeah, it is like X, Y, and Z. And that's like ultimately how any artist should approach it. Like if there's something that you're trying to get, like if there's something like a sound you're trying to do that sound until you can do it in your own way, of course.
Yeah, I think it's relatable too, because I first got into the scene in 2021 when digicore was like the thing, and I wanted to make digicore like so bad. I could never do it properly, and like in hindsight now, I'm kind of glad that I never did, just because I know a lot of people from that era kind of regret that now, because it's like, yeah, my new stuff's way better, but people know me for like what I was doing when I was like 16.
It's one of those things. Like, I never really considered the stuff that I made digicore. Like, I remember when that label was still coming up at the time. That was like I feel like that was like 2019 or something when I started to see that label, or maybe But like, yeah, that sound specifically is more like, it's more broader encompassing now than it was back then, it feels like. Because when I thought of digicore, I thought of those Vinso beats specifically. And I like that Ellens specifically and Dollywood, they still carry that sound and with pride. Just in like a very updated modern fashion. Like, it feels very throwback when you hear something like that now. But it's a very like specific sound back in the day, right? So I feel like a lot of people who were using that sound, it is a very, like, I want to use the right word to describe it, but it's very, what a digicore, like an old digicore beat sounds like when you hear it. Like, it's a very specific sound.
Anyways, I bring all this up because considering that you have been part of the scene for so long, you've definitely seen a lot of things. Like, there's been a lot of eras you've been around for, a lot of things that you've seen change. So I was curious, like, what are some of your favorite memories from like the scene, and I guess how have you seen it change like over the years?
There's nothing more fun than when you first get into it, right? Like, I go back to thinking about the times when I first met everyone some of these people I still know to this day, and formed like these lifelong relationships. I've been into it like even earlier than 2018 and stuff like that. So there have been many eras that I've been around for, but like, there's nothing more fun about when you first get into it and it all feels very new, and it all feels very like there's so much to explore and there's so many people to meet. And I think, like, even no matter who you are, no matter when you get into like this scene that we call a scene, like, it's always going to be like a really magical thing, no matter where it's at. But as far as like my favorite eras, like, there have been moments in time. I think like my favorite time period was definitely that 2018, 2019, leading into pre-COVID 2020 specifically. I just felt like there are so many things that have been like documented from that time period that have now been like, and that have also been like things that have also been forgotten or lost, that were just so special to me, because that was specifically when I was, I was kind of coming into this scene from another scene that's kind of adjacent. And to answer the question, yeah, basically when I first came into it, like, was the most fun. Like, it was the most fun period. And now I'm starting to find like, this era that we're currently in, although it does have its problems, it's a really good time period to be here for. There's a lot of really cool things that are happening in this underground community of people. Like, I think of like Zeok Gunk, Sydney, that is really, and Sam and Golden, like those people specifically, like that is what is most interesting to me right now, because it feels like I'm watching something be created. Yeah. Like, and it's so new and it's so fresh and it's so exciting.
Yeah. I think Sydney has been around for like a good while though. It's just like only the past couple of years they've kind of been getting their own footing as like a producer.
Yes.
And as a vocal artist,
like,
especially.
Like I feel like Sydney specifically and Ellen's like are the ones that I praise specifically because of how experimental and like continually experimental and forward pushing that they are, and how influential that their sound is specifically, right? Because yeah, they have been here for a while and they've evolved their sound. Like Sydney specifically, she has a sound that I feel like a lot of people have pulled from that are bigger now than they ever have been. But like Sydney will always go to the next thing, like onto the next thing. Same with Ellen's. And like a lot of producers right now are really forward pushing, like really experimenting. And I think a lot of the transformations that have been happening are specifically down to the producers at the end of the day. Like the producers are really the forward genre pushers.
Absolutely. Yeah. I appreciate also that you have been so like, I guess embracing of what's here now, people that kind of go now. For example, like you had Gunk on like your first project, and like you did the ZOK feature as well.
Yeah, it's really cool to see, like specifically if we're like putting it under a microscope, like those two, right? Because it feels like they are going to be the generation that influences the one that will come after them, like right now. And I'm watching that happen before my eyes, like, and it's really cool to see.
Yeah, and I agree too. And it's like I know when I did Zay's interview, especially, it's like I felt weird praising him so much, but it's like I do think that he really will be like a big figure. Like if you like 5 years in the future, you look back and it's like I think what he's doing now will be like really influential for a lot of people, especially when his next album comes out. Because like
Oh yeah,
I got to talk to him at like Back to Zero and like see him perform, and it was just like this is gonna be something like really crazy.
he's so young, and he has like that presence and like that drive and that ability to go and do these things that will really solidify his presence in the future. And that's really exciting to see. Like to see him go to those shows, to see him do that radio show,
Yeah.
to meet up with these really popular people, like exponentially popular people. It's awesome. Like it's so cool to see.
That's another thing too with being in the scene for so long. Because like for example, like we mentioned like the Dante Red song from like 2020. Is it weird knowing that like you've worked with some of these people that have become like really big like now?
No, not really. Like, it kind of comes with the territory of being in, like, having been working on music for so long and knowing so many of these people. Like, yeah, a lot of people who are really popular and like have a fan base, and are signed. Like, I've talked to and met and done things with them. But no, it doesn't feel weird to me because it kind of just like if you're in the scene and you continue to make music the way that you do, it just kind of like happens,
Yeah.
so it's definitely not weird to me.
I imagine it feels like rewarding in a way of just seeing like a lot of your friends and like people that like progressively go up like over time.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Like it really is like a crazy feeling, like to know that like this could have been any of us, right?
Mhm.
And it could still be any of us at the end of the day, right? It's all about your consistency. Yeah, it's about your consistency. It's about like how present you are, and that's really all it is. Like just being here and being present, and continuing to make art that resonates with people is like the big thing.
Yeah, I think that's why like the digital scene was so impactful for me too. Because like when I was like 15 when I first found it. So like seeing that all the people that were like kind of running the team like were my age is just like wow, like, this is like a thing that's possible.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Like I definitely remember that sort of feeling, right? And like I think there's been digicore artists who have continued to evolve their sound and find their own unique style and their own voice, even while they were making digicore. Like I think of Trust, I think of Lynn and things like that, and
Yeah.
specifically, right? But there's more artists that I my brain couldn't possibly begin to capture all of. Who it's like it's really cool to see the evolution of artists is all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think even with like the Back to Zero tour again, like that's a pretty good example because all those artists like came from that sound, but have since kind of developed their own thing in their own way.
Yeah, yeah, and it's still happening. Like especially now, like this is probably like the most like this time period we're in is the best time to get into it, right? Because now all the secrets have already been learned for how to make this music sound good. Now anybody can hop into it and just pick up FL Studio or BandLab and just make something and already have it sound like close, like not studio quality, but like pretty good sound. Like it sounds pleasant on the ears. And people can experiment with that however they want. But like right now, like back in the day, like nobody could just really pick up FL and like, know exactly how to do it. Now that we have everyone's presets and stuff like that, it's like anybody can do that. And that's what's really exciting about it.
Yeah, I think also the fact that like all that great music from that era has been around or for people to be inspired by. Where at the time, like people didn't have like access to be like, this is a big thing for me because it was coming out then. But now it's like an establishing people can
Bro,
go back to see.
yeah, absolutely. Especially for like producers. Like this is a great time for producers because all
Mm-hmm.
the like most of all the secrets for like how to get started have been learned and have been documented and yeah, like essentially documented is what I'm trying to say. So like anybody can head to YouTube, look up a couple tutorials on how to make a beat for, you know, I don't know, an instrumental for like plug and B or like Rage or whatever. And it's there to show you the basics and show you the ropes and like you go from there, right? Back in like 2018, 2019, we didn't really have that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were kind of just figuring that stuff out as we went. So it was kind of like just trailblazing and ultimately like discovery that's been documented for people to pick up now and continue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I appreciate too that I feel like a lot of the like smaller sounds, it's like you have to actively be in like the producer circles to know about it. And like with like the DC offset stuff, like you kind of have to be like here. I feel like to know about
See,
any of that.
that's really where my interest lies and like the stuff that like is very niche and it's the forward thinking stuff. Like I don't really care about the stuff that's already been
Yeah,
trailblazed and documented. I care about what's being experimented with like right now, like that's interesting. You know, and still needs to be like discovered and documented.
and I think that also comes from the fact that you've just been around for so long. But I feel like for someone that's getting into it now, they see all this other stuff from before, and it's like whoa. But for you, it's like you were already there for that, so now you want to go on to the next thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like and that'll happen if you stick around long enough. It's like you know you see all these iterations and time periods of you know genres. Like you see like you know the plug and B dark plug like ambient plug that like Wi-Fi was doing with Isaiah TG when he
Yeah,
was coming up. It's like I remember when Isaiah TG had like 1,000 followers like on SoundCloud. It was crazy. I remember when my friend showed him to me. I forget how long ago that was. I feel like it was like 2018 when he dropped like his first project. And it's like you see all these things come and go. I'm really happy that with the current time we're in, I think that the least interesting one to me, I might be forgetting something here in between this time period. I think 2019 to 2021 was like or I'm sorry, like pre-COVID, it was, and then into COVID, it was a little bit of a, like, you know, everyone was new coming into it and
yeah,
people were still trying to figure out, like, they were like all 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old kids coming into it, making this sort of sound. And it wouldn't be till later when they got older that they would start to make some of their best music, you know? So that was a time period of transition for where it was like, I'm sure there was stuff that I'm forgetting that was really cool at that time, but that part I remember was like very in between transitions.
yeah. I'm excited. I'm also kind of scared to see what comes next because there's kids now. They're growing up making like step team and like heroin style beats, and it's like if their brains are already able to like do all that now when they're so young, it's like I think in the future seeing what that becomes
Oh,
would be so crazy to see what that like develops into.
that is actually something I was thinking about too. Where that's also what's really cool is that all these younger artists who have access to this information are like not even just in music, but like anything, you know, web design, like software engineering, you know, game design, whatever, like anything that has been around for a while that is getting more and more documentation to the point that like the next group of kids who are hyper focused and online like will be even better than the ones that come after, you know, and people will get like be good quicker.
Yeah, like I don't know if you heard Yamamaya's new EP, but one of the songs on there, the producer I found it is 13 years old. Like they're born in 2013. That was my favorite song on there, and it's like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
messes. I'm born 2005, so that's like really weird to me
Which
to see
one?
that.
Which song was it?
Uh, it was Prod broke best friends and like Rectons. I'm trying to remember what the song name was called.
Okay, okay, okay.
It
Yeah, I remember
was
that Yamamaya project. I think he sent it to me.
viral. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. That was a good project. Yeah, like 13 years old already making like crazy stuff. Like that's what I'm talking about. Like that's the really cool thing where it's like you see like people who, you know, are just getting into high school and they're already making crazy stuff, you know?
So yeah, I think that just leaves like the scene as like a very exciting place to be going forward. And speaking of which, I think you're also one of the most exciting artists in the scene to follow at the moment for me. As whether you're collaborating with other artists or focusing on solo work, it always makes for it always makes for something really special. So now that you've dropped your most recent album, what's next for h3artch3rades?
What's next is I'm going to work on getting better at producing again. Still going to be dropping, still going to be recording. Going to get a couple features done for some folks, and then I'm going to continue dropping singles. Next projects, I got 2 ideas that I'm going to work on for albums. I don't know if they'll come out this year. I'll try my best, but my future goals are to continue to be like here, continue to be working, continue to be like creative, and just keep moving forward, you know, just keep making stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited to see this, especially now that like you've kind of proven that like you will do whatever you want. I'm excited to see for you to do what you want. So
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I continue to keep trying new things for sure. Like I definitely want to break out of my comfort zone and kind of experiment and try things I haven't before.
Yeah. All right. And as the episode comes to a close, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, like shout out like pretty much everyone I've shouted out so far, right? And everyone who continues to, you know, listen to me and consume my art. But, you know, my producers, anyone who's worked with me, thank you. Like shout out y'all. Like of course, shout out everyone that I've shouted out, like I said, like Sydney, Zay, Gunk, Ellens, Heroin, Sam, Golden, all my friends that have been with me for however long it's been. And, you know, just, you know, thank you guys for listening to me and continuing to listen. And, you know, thank you for having me on your show.
Of course. Thank you for being on. All right. Well, shout out all those people and shout out h3artch3rades. Again, thank you for doing this. I know it took a while for it to happen, but I'm really glad that it did because I think this is the first and favorite interview that I've done. All of his links will be in the description down below. So like if you weren't tapped in with him for whatever reason and you're at the end of the interview, which like I don't even know how you got here, but if you didn't know about him, like please go check him out. He's got so much great stuff. I'll have 3 of my favorite songs of his in the playlist that are on Spotify and SoundCloud. So if you want like an intro to his work, I'll have that there too. And is there anything else that you want to say? Because I think that's everything for me.
Yeah, make art. Make art. Keep going. Don't stop. Don't get discouraged. Keep going. And if you're in a bad place, it gets better. It just takes time. Keep going.
Absolutely, yeah. All right, well, I'm Amu. This has been the Hidden Driveway Show. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.